My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder now, for our Pandulph's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Will't please you sit and look at her? I said for our Pandulph, by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of that earnest glance. But to myself they turn, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I, and seemed as they would ask me, if they durst, how such a glance came there. So not the first are you to ask, and ask thus. Sir, 'twas not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the Duchess's cheek. Perhaps for our Pandulph chanced to say, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half-flush that dies along her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Sir, 'twas all one, my favour at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the bough of cherries summer fishes full broke in the orchard for her, the white mule she rode with around the terrace. All and each would draw from her alike the approving speech, or blush at least. She thanked men good, but thanked, somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of 900 years old name with anybody's gift. Who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling? Even had you not in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say, just this or that, and you disgust me, here you miss, or there exceed the mark, and if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, even then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. Oh, sir, she smiled no doubt whenever I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile? This grew. I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. There she stands, as if alive. Will't please you rise, we'll meet the company below then. I repeat, the Count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that no just pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed. Though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting, is my object. Nay, we'll go together down, sir. Notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse, thought a rarity, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. Sorry for my reading, I'm not entirely sure it was meant to sound like that, but I'll just go with it. So, firstly, I would like to say that this is a very good poem to compare with Porphyria's Lover. This is because they are both about a dude, well, not really a dude, don't say dude in your exam, I'm sorry. A person, a man, who kills a woman. Now, the reason for My Last Duchess being killed, well, the Duchess being killed, is because this Duke is jealous. This is evident from when he says, whenever I passed her she smiled, but who passed without much the same smile. Now this to him suggests that she was always sort of frivolous and just smiled at all the men that she looked upon, but it seems as if that she was quite a nice person. You could say that she was actually what he thought her to be, but I think Robert Browning was trying to get at that she was not. She was just a very nice woman. For example, when he seems to give her a brooch, when he says, my favourite at her breast. So this sort of very expensive brooch, she doesn't wear it because she doesn't want to be different. She doesn't want to be of higher status. Because of this jealousy, he decided to give commands. I gave commands. And told someone to assassinate her, which he did. And apparently he has a painting of this Duchess, and he says no one can draw the curtain apart from him. So he says, so this is sort of implying that when she was living he had no control over her. He thinks she was sort of sleeping around with everyone, but the reader is made to think that she was actually a really nice person and she just goes around helping people, smiling at people, and just being an all-round good person. But he says, he sort of implies that now he has a painting of her that he can control. He can open the curtain, he can show her to anyone, he can he is in control of the Duchess, which is what he wants to be. The context of this story he is telling is that at the end when he says, "The Count your master's known munificent," so we assume that he's talking to this servant of a count, and we assume that the daughter of the count is the person he's going to be marrying, because he mentions dowries, which is what you give, which is what the man gives to the female's family when he marries her. You can say this is sort of a circular poem because it begins with "My Last Duchess," indicating ownership, and then again it ends with "cast in bronze for me." Me again indicating ownership. So a lot of poems have this sort of circular structure. So it begins with, let's say, it begins with a tulip, reference to a tulip, and it ends with a similar reference to the tulip. So it's sort of, the poem goes around in a circle, or sort of, if it's a chronological poem, it references the beginning of the thing. And this is a more subtle circular structure, but it is if you don't have anything to say specifically interesting, or if you keep on repeating yourself, then mentioning sort of subtle hints at something fancy is good. Ironically, it is written in heroic couplets. This is a form. This is ironic because the Duke is anything but a hero. He's greedy and manipulative and a murderer, basically. So he is not a nice person. One element of the Duke is that he's very boastful. He says that Frau Pandolf, who is the artist who painted the Duchess, he mentions her name twice. So apparently this person, Frau Pandolf, is a very well-known artist, and so he's trying to show off that he's got this painting of the Duchess painted by him. But he also expresses his jealousy because he thinks that that she slept with the painter as well. Another thing that he shows off with is his bronze statue of Neptune, which at the end he says, "Klaus of Innsbruck," yes, "Klaus of Innsbruck, cast in bronze for me." So he's just showing off again. It's a dramatic monologue, such as the Porphyria's Lover, so that's a good point to make if you're comparing those two. Make sure to read the question before you compare two poems. Just because you know they go well together does not mean that they will go well together in terms of a question, so do read that. One thing that makes him a bit of a pompous idiot is that, don't write pompous idiot. You can write pompous, but not idiot. Is that the fact that he keeps on saying that he's not a smooth talker, but because of the parenthetical dashes. For example, "A heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad." Here we go. Hold on. There's a little dash. There's another dash. And those parenthetical dashes indicate that he is a smooth talker. But he says, "somehow I know not how," in speech which I have not. So he keeps on he's pretending to be modest, but in fact he's a bit of a smooth talker. Actually, he is a smooth talker, which I have not, also brings the attention back to him. That was My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. Again, I suggest looking at the other page to see a bit of background, and also the glossary, because the term Renaissance and the term Renaissance nobleman in the top bit is a very good vocabulary to pop into your essay. Remember to leave any comments and have fun revising.